The first bullet cracked the air like a drop-into plate, loud, stupid, impossible to ignore. The second shaved a line through my sleeve. The third kissed skin. Then everything in Port Caswell Regional went quiet in that not quiet way. Baggage still thudding. Coffee still spilling. People holding their breath behind vending machines that don't hide anyone. I didn't fall. I stood there, heart too loud, arm hot, staring at the man with the gun who just emptied 3 rounds at a woman holding a paper boarding pass. "Officer Malloy," I said steady. "As I could, you just fired at a federal judge. You want to holster that before you add obstruction to the list?" His eyes did that little flicker training, trying to load ego buffering while his hands stayed glued to what he believed made him right. I wasn't in robes. No escort, no lapel pin, no special line. Gray hoodie jeans, carry on with a cracked wheel. That was the point. For months, I'd been traveling like the people I used to represent, the people who never get the benefit of the doubt. I wanted the truth without the VIP filter. Today, truth hurt. A TSA screener with a ponytail and the kind of courage that shows up before permission stepped out from the checkpoint. "I'm Jada," she said, voice shaking, but sure smartwatch still glowing on her wrist. "I started recording when you escalated." Behind her, a kid whispered, "She a judge," and someone else said, "Doesn't matter." He saw a black woman in a hoodie and thought the rules changed. Paramedics slid in like a tide, fast, breathless hands already reaching for me. "Ma'am, you've been hit." I nodded. "I'll move when every body cam is tagged, every terminal feed secured, and every witness name is written down in one chain of custody, unbroken. No edits, no gaps." The younger medic hesitated until I gave him the look I save for lawyers who forget the rules they swore to. He started writing. A supervisor arrived, red-faced and windy. Non-compliance officer Malloy barked like he'd found the story he rehearsed in the mirror. I lifted the torn edge of my sleeve, held up the boarding pass, felt blood tickle my elbow. "I'm Judge Mariah Ellison, 11th Circuit." I complied. "You panicked." My voice sounded like my mother's when the bank told her policy wouldn't let her to fix their math, plain tired, immovable. 4 hours earlier, I'd walked out of my row house in Old Easton, telling myself the hoodie was an experiment, not armor. Truth is, it was a dare I'd been aiming at the system since I was 7, the day my dad got cuffed on our porch for a ticket sent to the wrong address. I watched our neighbors decide who we were in real time. That humiliation never left. It just learned my schedule. Back in the terminal, I borrowed a phone mine was at home on purpose and called the one person who picks up on the first ring when I say my name flat. "Marshall Ortiz." I said, "Federal presence at Port Caswell." "Yes, I'm the victim." "No, I'm not bleeding out." "Bring a printer and a spine." Jada hovered near me, ringing her badge lanyard. "They told me to log out," she whispered. "Said I breached protocol." "You preserved evidence," I said. "They can call it what they want, but history calls it proof." By sunset, the video 80-something seconds of the most honest mirror Malloy will ever face had already slipped into the bloodstream of the internet. A local podcaster named Theo watched it twice, then posted one. Still me standing, hoodie torn, paper in hand, eyes locked. Caption: "She didn't flinch, no hashtags. The algorithm did the rest." Cable news sliced the same clip 3 ways: security versus bias, law versus optics, fear versus facts. Like truth was a buffet you take samples from. At the hospital, pain meds made the ceiling breathe, but my brain kept score. A courier dropped off an envelope stamped with authority and stuffed with audacity. Notice of inquiry, obstruction of security procedure. Cute. The system loves a smoke machine. My lawyer, Nia Caldwell, arrived with a folder and no small talk. "They're trying to flip you from victim to liability," she said, dropping the documents on my blanket. "Push too hard and you're angry. Push too what's up and you disappear." I laughed, one of those broken little laughs you give a magician right before you pull the scarf out of his sleeve. "Okay," I said, "let's push just right." The next morning, I filed for something almost nobody uses because almost nobody knows it exists: an emergency public oversight session under a dusty section of the Federal Transparency Act when helped draft. If power won't come to the record, you drag the record to power. Courtroom 4B smelled like wood polish and nerves. Reporters packed the back wall. Federal staffers slipped in on lunch breaks. The clerk called my name. I walked to the bench, not as a symbol, just as the person whose arm still stung and laid out the evidence like dominoes. Multi-angle terminal footage, body cams, affidavits, training modules with euphemisms. You can't believe adults write. We played the clip. The room went so quiet I heard someone stop breathing at second 39, start again at second 78. The airport attorney tried the script. Your Honor, the legitimacy of this hearing, I cut him off with a nod at the statute. Authorized, I said, by me, because I'm the highest-ranking federal judge physically present in this district, and I am the person your officer shot at while complying. His face did the math and didn't like the answer. Ms. Nguyen, he said, calling Jada forward, you're subpoenaed as a federal witness and under protection. She swallowed hard and kept eye contact, best kind of bravery. From the second row, someone started to clap, stopped, remembered where they were. Not a rally, a record. Here's the thing, people don't get accountability. Isn't a feeling, it's paperwork with teeth. When you lock down chain of custody, when the timeline has no fog, when your slide deck doesn't blink, the room has to sit with what it doesn't want to see. And what the room saw was simple. He didn't shoot danger. He shot certainty that didn't bow. By week's end, a task force pulled the lid off the Port Caswell files. 14 sealed incidents that smelled like the same kitchen grandmother made to remove her wig under fluorescent lights, veteran with a prayer pendant, treated like contraband college kid detained an hour for shea butter, labeled suspicious gel. Different names, same ritual, call it policy rinse, the bias, file it away. Meanwhile, Officer Trent Malloy read an email alone in his apartment with the TV on mute. Access revoked, effective immediately. No ceremony, no parade. Just the sound a badge makes when a system finally stops pretending it's a shield and admits it was a costume. I don't know what he told his mirror that night. I do know silence can be a confession if you listen long enough. Congress dragged its feet, then tripped over its optics. They put me under lights and asked if what happened to me gave me the right to define fairness. No, I said, and that's exactly the problem. Too many people think fairness is a personality trait. It's a system, and ours has been running on vase and fear for a long time. I read letters, handwritten, coffee-stained, shaky because statistics don't make people feel seen, stories do. The room lost its appetite for, on the one hand. A bill limped out of committee, independent counsel for transit oversight. A mouthful no one will remember until it saves them from being a headline. I didn't chair it. I seated it, then stepped back because staying in the spotlight is not the same as staying in the fight. Jada took the first ethics advisor seat flats. Steady voice a pin that said, ask me what I didn't do yesterday. Theo wrote a book he swore he didn't want to publicize, then let it speak for itself. Somewhere in my inbox, an unsigned message. Thought you were nobody. Turns out you were the law. Maybe Malloy, maybe not. I didn't write back. Some ghosts don't earn dialogue. A month later, I went back to Port Caswell like a person, not an exhibit. Same metal archway, same bins that never fit your laptop right. No hands hovered at holsters. A young officer leaned closer as my bin slid through. Thank you, Judge, she whispered. I smiled. Just Mariah. I walked on. No applause, no cameras. The silence felt rewired. Not fixed. Not yet. But different. Look, I didn't win a movie ending. I got a beginning that cost more than it should have. Systems don't apologize, they adapt when they're watched. If you ask me whether Malloy is a villain, I'll say he's a man who mistook a badge for a backbone and learned the difference too late. If you ask me whether the airport's safer now, I'll say safety without accountability is theater, and I don't buy tickets. So tell me what you see when you replay this in your head, a threat in a hoodie, or the Constitution walking through a metal detector like everyone else. Drop it in the comments. What was right? What was wrong? What have you witnessed that never made the news? If you've got a story like this, speak it. If you've got doubts, bring them. And if you believe justice is a seat, I hope you learn what I did. It's where you choose to stand when everyone else tells you to move along.